I spent 3 years building a life with a woman who used my stability as a launching pad and called it independence. By the time she told me I needed to be less of a man, I had already started learning exactly who I was. The first thing she ever said to me that should have made me leave was buried in what seemed like a compliment. We had been dating about 4 months when she told me, completely out of nowhere, that she loved how I never got insecure. She said most guys were threatened by strong women and that I was different. I smiled. I felt proud. I held on to that like it meant something about me. Looking back, she was testing the fence. She was checking to see how much room she had. My name is Marcus, and I am 34 years old. I am not a dramatic person. I have never posted anything personal online in my life before this. I spent about 6 weeks writing this and deleting it before I finally decided to just let it go, because keeping it inside was doing more damage than sharing it ever could. I met Lee when I was 30 and she was 27. We were introduced through a mutual friend at a backyard cookout in July. She was laughing loud and wearing a yellow sundress, and she had this energy that pulled people toward her. I was not looking for anything serious at the time. I had just bought my first house the year before, I had a steady job in civil engineering, and I was focused on building something real for myself after a pretty rough stretch in my mid-20s. I had grown up without a lot of stability. My parents split when I was 9, and things were chaotic for years after that. Moving around, switching schools, watching the adults in my life make decisions that blew everything up. By the time I was in my late 20s, I had promised myself I was going to be the kind of person who built something that lasted. Steady income, a home, a real relationship. I wanted a partner who understood what that kind of life took. Lee seemed like that person at first. She worked in marketing, freelance, which meant her income was inconsistent. She was renting a room in a house with 2 other people when we met. She talked a lot about wanting to grow her own business someday. She was ambitious in the way people are when they have a clear vision but not quite the resources yet to execute it. I respected that. I had been in that position myself. We dated for about 8 months before she moved in. That was her idea, not mine. I was not opposed to it, but I also was not the one pushing for it. She had been spending most nights at my place anyway, and eventually she said it just made sense to make it official. Her situation with the roommates had gotten tense, and she said she was ready to live somewhere she actually felt comfortable. I agreed. I gave her half of the closet, cleared a shelf for her in the bathroom, made room in the garage for her stuff. That was the beginning of the part I did not see clearly until much later. Once she moved in, her freelance work slowed down. She blamed it on a bad quarter, then a difficult client, then market changes. I never pushed her about money because I did not need to. My mortgage was manageable on my salary alone, and I was not hurting financially. I told her to take the time she needed to find the right clients and build her business the right way. I meant it. I was not keeping score. She stopped taking on new clients entirely, about 6 months after moving in. She said she was pivoting. She said she was building a personal brand and that would eventually open bigger doors. She started a blog, an Instagram, something about lifestyle and authenticity and modern womanhood. She put real effort into it. I watched her work on it. I supported it. I bought her a camera setup because she said the phone quality was not good enough for what she was trying to do. I want to be clear that I was not upset about any of this at the time. I am explaining it now because it matters for what came later. The picture of who she was becoming and who she was pretending to be is important context. About a year into living together, little things started to shift. She started going out more with a new group of people she had met through the lifestyle content community she was building. Mostly other creators, mostly younger. She would come home late, sometimes very late, and she would be energized in this way that had nothing to do with me. Not checked in, not curious about my day, just buzzing on something that existed entirely outside of our home. I did not say anything for a long time because I thought I was being paranoid. She had always been social. That was one of the things I liked about her. I told myself this was just her building her career network and that I needed to trust her. The first real sign that something was wrong came on a Tuesday night in October of that second year. I came home from work and she was already there, which was unusual. She was sitting on the couch with her phone face down on the cushion, and she had this look on her face that I can only describe as caught. Not guilty, exactly, Not sad, just caught. Like a person who had been doing something they knew they would eventually have to explain, and the moment had arrived ahead of schedule. I asked her if she was okay. She said yes. She said she was just tired. I let it go. I made dinner. She was quiet, and I thought maybe she had just had a hard day. 2 weeks later, I looked at our shared credit card statement because I needed to confirm a charge from a home improvement store, and I saw a hotel charge from that Tuesday. A hotel about 40 minutes from our house. $212. I sat with that for a long time before I said anything. I want to be honest here. Part of me did not want to know. Part of me thought that if I asked and she had a reasonable explanation, then I could stop feeling the thing I was feeling in my chest. And part of me knew there was no reasonable explanation, and I was just delaying the part where my life changed. I asked her about it on a Friday evening. I did not make it dramatic. I just showed her the statement on my laptop and asked if she could tell me what that charge was. She was quiet for about 10 seconds. Then she said she had met a friend there who was going through a rough patch and needed a place to stay, and she had gotten the room for her. I asked her why she had not mentioned it. She said she did not think it was a big deal, and that she did not need to report every small thing she did to me. I asked her what the friend's name was. She said it was someone I did not know, someone from her content community. I asked her why the charge showed up at 7:45 in the evening and not at check-in time. She said she did not remember the exact timeline. I told her that I did not believe her. She did not get defensive in the way I expected. She got quiet. She looked at her hands. She said she was sorry for making me feel this way, but that she had not done anything wrong and that my suspicion was a problem I needed to work through. That sentence, I have thought about it hundreds of times since. The way she turned my reasonable question into a character flaw I needed to fix. I did not push further that night. I am not proud of that, but I am being honest. I backed down because confronting it fully meant accepting something I was not ready to accept. For the next few weeks, things were oddly normal. She was warmer than she had been in months. She cooked dinner twice, which she had not done in a while. She came to bed when I did instead of staying up late on her phone. I let myself believe that maybe I had been wrong. Maybe there was a reasonable explanation. Maybe the tension of the confrontation had shaken something loose and things were going to be different. They were not different. About 6 weeks after the hotel conversation, I found a thread of messages on her laptop. I was not snooping. She had left it open on the kitchen counter and her chat app was visible. I was not looking for anything. But a message came through while I was walking past and I read it without meaning to, and then I could not unread it. The message was from someone named Dree. It said, and I am going to keep this clean because some things do not need to be spelled out. It said something that made it completely clear they had been physical with each other, and that she had told him things were complicated at home, but that she was working on it. I stood in the kitchen for a while. I closed the laptop, and I went and sat on the back porch, and I stayed there until it got cold. When she came home, I told her what I had seen. She did not deny it this time. She sat across from me at the kitchen table, and she said that she had been doing some reflection and that she felt like our relationship had become limiting and that she had been exploring what she actually wanted. I asked how long. She said a few months. I asked if it was just Dree. She was quiet for too long. I said okay. I asked her if she had planned on telling me. She said she was still figuring out what she wanted to say. She said she had been doing a lot of reading about relationship structures and that she thought maybe what we needed was a more open framework. She said a lot of people her age were moving away from traditional monogamy and that she felt like it was something worth exploring together. I told her I did not want that. She said that was exactly the kind of response she expected from me and that I needed to think about why I was so attached to traditional structures. I am going to say that again so it lands properly. She cheated on me. She told me about it when she got caught, and then she told me the problem was that I was too traditional. I did not yell. I did not throw anything. I told her she needed to sleep somewhere else that night. She did not. She stayed in the house, in our bedroom, and I slept on the couch. In my house, that I owned. That I had been paying for while she built her brand and told the internet about authentic living. The next few weeks were a disaster that moved in slow motion. She did not move out. She did not apologize. She treated the revelation like something we were both processing together, like a shared event that had happened to us rather than a choice she had made and I had discovered. She talked about it in therapy language. She used words like autonomy and self-actualization and intentional relationships. She said she had been suppressing who she was for years and that she needed space to become her full self. I asked her who was paying for the space. She said that was an unfair thing to say. I started questioning everything, not just the relationship but myself. I had always thought of myself as a reasonable person, emotionally stable, not prone to overreacting. She had told me that over and over in the early years, how grounding I was, how secure. But now she was reframing all of that. Now my steadiness was emotional unavailability. My stability was control. My expectation of